Served managing 5-4 in the third, but her opponent fought back to take the deciding set with 7 games to 5. BBC News.
Well, now on Radio 4, it's time for Any Questions. In the chair is Jonathan Dimbleby.
Welcome to Herefordshire and to the village of Webley, which is in the rural heartlands of this county. Webley is renowned, among other things, for the fact that 370 years ago this year, in 1645, King Charles I rested here after winning a temporary victory, as it turned out, over Cromwell's Roundheads. We are in the village hall, and on our panel, the former Justice Secretary, now Leader of the House, Chris Grady, the Labour MP Khalid Mohammed, who was the first English Muslim to enter the Commons when he was first elected in 2001, the Greek-born economist Vicky Pryce, who is the author of Greekonomics, and the former President of the National Farmers Union, farmer and now Chairman of the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, Sir Peter Kent. Our panel.
Reported ahead.
I have to start by apologising to one of our guests, Khalid, because I called him by his improper family name, which is Mahmoud. My apologies for obvious reasons. Our first question, please.
Millie Sarah Harrison. Can the panel recommend what I should take as a currency when I backpack across Greece? Euros, drachma, or even gold?
Vicky Pryce.
Well, I'm afraid there are no drachmas in existence at present, so you can't take any drachmas. So you're going to have to take euros, and gold is probably very difficult to obtain. The Greeks don't know, really, where they're going to be after Sunday. If they vote no to the referendum, then perhaps the exit is there, and it's going to come quite quickly because the banking system is about to collapse and it needs liquidity. So either the European Central Bank will give them the liquidity and they can survive a bit longer if they vote yes. And if they vote no, then the only way to keep the system going is by issuing a new currency, no probability. So if you take euros, you can probably exchange them for loads and loads of drachmas because it's bound to devalue. So I would suggest you still go, and you're going to have a very cheap holiday.
Can I ask you, just on the back of that, given the intensity of the drama and threat and danger of the situation of pensioners, unemployment. If you've got family, I presume.
I do indeed, yes.
How would you vote? Because it looks like heads you lose, tails you lose.
That's absolutely true. I mean, the choice is a very difficult one, and the reality is that the Greeks are being asked to vote on rejecting, because that's what the government is suggesting, rejecting the creditors' proposals, which they say is very austere and that would cause a lot of hardship. But in reality, their own proposals that they put forward to the creditors are equally tough in terms of the austerity that they require. The problem is that if you vote no, you're in complete uncharted waters. I would vote yes, because that gives you more certainty. It doesn't mean that I like anything that is being recommended. The Greeks have already suffered many years of austerity and serious decline in their living standards, but it will be a better basis for negotiation than what we've got now. And probably the negotiation will be done by a different government, because the current one said that they would go. At least that's what they've been saying until recently. Who knows, they may change their minds. That they would go if the vote is yes.
Chris Grayling.
Vicky's right in terms of what you take with you. You have to take euros. I think the advice is to take a sensible amount of cash with you. There are a lot of precautions that have been, a lot of contingencies been put in place by the government to help tourists if things do become much worse. Right, probably we all hope for the best to come out of this, but we're preparing for the worst.
What's the best from your perspective?
Well, it's very difficult to know, to be frank, what the best is. I mean, ultimately, we would like to see Greece return to stability. We will suffer economically if Greece under the Eurozone ends up in deep problems. If you look back 3 or 4 years when the Eurozone crisis started, one of the reasons our economy recovered slower than it did was because after 2010, with the Eurozone crisis, the whole European economy took a nosedive. If we see the same kind of impact again from troubles in Greece, it will have an effect on our economy. That's not something we want. So ultimately, it's easy to look and say, well, there are lessons to be learned. Greece should never be join the euro. We've always opposed the euro, said that Britain should be part of it, and I'm very glad we're not. But ultimately, it is in our national interest that this is sorted out and that the rest of Europe is stable rather than unstable. And so therefore we have to keep our fingers crossed that out of this mess can come some kind of solution that delivers stability and recovery to Greece.
Speaker Ken.
Look, I look at what's going on in Greece, and I'm a farmer, as I said, or Jonathan said in the introduction, so I look at it as how do you get responsible government into Greece? I feel so sorry for the people. You see the plight they've got, and then you see the grandstanding from some of the politicians that are now playing chicken with each other, with the European Commission as well. And then I sort of rather simplistically look back into a farming business or small businesses. And if you get in a mess where you're borrowing more and more money off somebody, that person has a lot of control over you. And if they then tell you you've got to go and sell part of the farm, or you can't buy a new tractor, if you're in hock, you just can't do anything about it. And he who pays the piper calls the tune, and I wish the Greeks really well. But they are in a mess, and they've got to, I think, jump through the hoops that the European Commission, the IMF are setting them.
Charlie Mahmood.
Well, I agree with Vicky, and I think you should take euros and make sure there's kept securely as well, because carrying a lot of cash around isn't always easy. But I think the real issue around this issue is that our national interest is tied in, despite not being in the euro. We suffer the consequences here as well. I think had we looked at some of the stuff that Gordon Brown did in terms of keeping us out of the fiscal union in terms of the euro, he set certain ground rules for us to go in. And had Europe taken some of that advice across Europe and a number of countries, not just Greece, a number of other countries that are coming through now, had we taken that advice, Greece wouldn't be in the mess that it's in, and nor would the rest of Europe.
Vicky, can I pick that up with you? Because the then Chancellor had his golden rules, which most people thought were designed to ensure that there could be no circumstances in which the British government of the day would be able to go in. Is Khalid right about that? Do you think that had those rules been applied universally, Greece would probably not be in, and therefore the euro would be smaller but stronger?
Well, the golden rules, or the rules that we thought out in terms of fiscal prudence, were
Someone behind
actually not as tight as
be
what
quick.
the Europeans had been imposing on the rest of Greece. So remember, there was a stability and growth. The Eurozone had to have only 3% deficit to GDP ratio and only 60% debt to GDP ratio.
I need
Of course,
to
so
shower.
many countries didn't do that at all. In fact, it was
And
the
I'm
Germans and the
starving.
French who cheated about the figures
Since
at the
we
beginning
left,
and carried on having much
all I
larger
eat
deficits. And
is
in fact, right
plantain.
now,
One
there seems
fried
to be a
plantain.
different rule for
One.
the
And I didn't
banks.
even
So
fry
France and
it.
Italy are
I
allowed
find it
to
somewhere
extend
and I
the
ate
period
it.
over which they have to get back to that type of figure for the deficit. Whereas
You
Greece
can
has
buy
been
fried
flat.
plantains.
Despite
It says
the fact
it's-
that
I read
actually
somewhere
the
that it's
deficit
no
is
good.
much faster than
It's
any
better
of the
to
other countries.
boil it,
In the Eurozone,
because
to
if
just
you
2%,
fry it,
much better than the
you
UK has done. From
You've
15
got-
to
you've
2.
got-
release
Greek debt
a
service over
cancerogen.
300
That is so
billion. People talk
nice.
about it being a
Well, that's the thing with
austerity
fried
staying
foods all
inside
round.
the next 15,
It's not too much of a problem if you don't overdo it. I mean, the can quite
Absolutely.
heavily
Alan?
cope
But
with
that is
it.
unsustainable.
Is there anything I can do about these?
Buy oil,
The
is that
interesting thing
anything I
is
can
that it's not
suggest?
just Greece. It is so high in terms of...
But I put bile on it, but it's somewhere. Like, is there anything surgery?
Have been
Skin treatment?
in a 25%
Makeup.
decline in GDP.
Makeup?
Here.
What do you mean makeup? Put makeup on it. That's so ridiculous. When you're working, it's gonna go away.
Share of the debt increases.
Or when you sit somewhere, or when you wear a white dress. It's ridiculous. That's the point. What's the point?
They have about 120
There's not a lot you can do,
30%
right?
debt to GDP, which is
Oh, but I want to wear shorts without.
Which Greece, yes.
Would you agree the long term, or the sort of medium to long term, that the euro is actually going to be feasible?
Jim is making this to my.
Yeah, I said that, that's
Jim is
does it
doing
up
this to
if
me.
Greece.
Jim, it's gonna go.
Let's go.
No, he's not. You okay? No, you know. You is just like, yeah, okay. Do this. You're just like far away. Giving me answers like, okay, I don't care.
I'm driving, I'm concentrating on that.
No, you like, I don't care. I don't want to hear all your skin thing. Wow. All right then, I'll shush.
There's not a lot you can